Without the Salvation Army, I wouldn't be alive, I wouldn't be standing here today.
This is called the Hamid Ava Cafe, and really what it is a place that serves about 150 meals a day to some of Melbourne's most vulnerable and homeless people. We really try to make sure we show everyone in this place dignity and respect. So it's not just about, throwing a meal in front of them, it's about making sure the meal looks good, it tastes good, it's nutritious, but it's also about being their friend, and it's about putting all the resources that we can possibly muster around people to help get them back on their feet so that they don't end up staying on the streets. Table 2. It's an interesting problem, the issue of homelessness in Melbourne, because there's about 105 people a night that sleep rough. But the interesting thing is that figure remains about the same, but the people that we see actually change. So we're getting some people off the streets and getting them into safe, secure accommodation, but then other people appear to take their place.
Unfortunately, we do have a problem with homelessness in Melbourne, not just the traditional older men, but families and young people. What we need to do is make sure the whole community works together to make sure people have not just got a home, but are fully supported with their services. And that's why we're really pleased that the Collingwood Football Club is working with the Salvation Army at the grassroots, helping people who are homeless, but also helping people, particularly young people and families who are at risk of homelessness, so we can actually prevent them going onto the streets.
My name is Shez. 9 years ago, I was homeless. After pacing up and down, I entered what we had called then the Life Centre. I was approached by young workers who asked could they help me. I wasn't quite sure because my background is of sexual abuse and I didn't trust in anyone. I've been clean for 9 years now. I just have so much respect for the Salvation Army and what we do here and what we do for people, and more importantly than that to me, they gave me hope.
The reality is, if you're sleeping on the streets of Melbourne in a bit of Melbourne winter, the potential is there for people to die, and we've actually seen that happen. If you put yourself in the situation of someone that's sleeping rough in the city, and often they go a whole day without having a conversation with the person, and then late at night along comes a Collingwood footballer that makes them a cup of coffee, gives them a hot meal, but actually sits down, has a meaningful conversation with them, has a really significant impact, and it actually screams out to that homeless person, we value you, we actually think you're worthwhile.
It's pretty cold tonight, so we'll see how many make it out. I'll drive. It's the safest way to do it, eh?
Let's go.
So the youth bus sees between 70 to 100 young people a night. Most of those young people are either homeless or at risk of homelessness. Marley interacts really well with young people down there, so we'll just go down and have a chat to some of them, and then we'll get back in the van and head off to our first stop for the outreach van.
Collingwood. Are you serious? I live in Collingwood. Abbotsford. I'm just back from North Melbourne. Oh,
so we've been running this since about October 2006, and it's really in response to trying to separate the two groups out that we see on the street. So rather than having young people hang around with older people, we get the young people to come to the bus, and we've got food for them, and we've got workers that connect with them and help find them accommodation, things like that. It's absolutely critical because it's about creating a safe space for them right in the middle of the city. So a lot of these kids are really vulnerable. They're homeless, or they're coming from really difficult situations. So this is a safe place where they can get something to eat and they can connect with workers to help get them back on their feet.
It's definitely left a mark on me, From my stuff up, it could have sent me this way, and doing this really pulled me back into my place, and I really don't want to be able to have to live like these people, how they are, because it's not the easiest way to live. They're outside in the cold all the time, and they get fed a couple of times a day, and that's about it. It definitely won't fix what I did, but I was only meant to do this for 11 weeks, and I've gone probably 2 months past what I was meant to do. definitely means a lot to me. Even just coming out and talking to them means a lot, because you know they don't get to talk to very many people, and very many people don't interact with them just because they haven't got a home and they haven't got a job. So most people just ignore them and will never help them. Chocolate, Snickers, Beamsies came out a few times, and Trav definitely loved it. They interact well with these people, and I think homeless people love seeing AFL players out. They just love interacting with them, and I think they just feel that little bit more special. Definitely helps with leadership. You know, you come down here and first few weeks Brendan was showing me what to do, but since then I've been able to do it myself, and I don't reckon I need Brendan out here. He just comes out for a laugh.
We've seen Marley have a really major impact on the lives of homeless people, where he's taken time to sit down and just be with people, and they just think it's fantastic. And what's actually happened now is Marley's got to the point where he's taken over our outreach van. He actually runs the whole program, and I think it's had an impact back on not just Marley but other Collingwood footballers that have been out too, because what it does, I think, is it actually shows them that, you know, they might have a hamstring niggle or some other injury, but it puts all of those sorts of things into perspective when you see the struggles that people on the street are having. I think the other thing that Collingwood do for us, particularly the Collingwood Foundation, which is just sensational, is they underwrite the costs of 5 houses. So we've taken people off the streets and out of terrible rooming houses, and we've put them into safe, secure accommodation that's been rented by Collingwood and also furnished by the Collingwood Foundation.
This is the house I live in, the house that the Collingwood Football Club provide. You want to come and have a look inside?
One of the things that was missing is having our own houses. So we've had to rely on boarding houses, which are shocking places for people to live. Major Brendan Noddle had an idea that we would run our own houses. Collingwood then came on board, and we now have 5 houses, which we have in the houses 14 people who are actually helping to rebuild their lives and start from the future. Without the support of the Collingwood Football Club, these 14 people would probably still be on the street.
And this is our courtyard where we can sit and have a barbecue and sit out even a nice sunny day and enjoy the sunshine.
We've had people living in absolutely disgusting conditions. I've seen it for myself. They're awful. And here Collingwood comes along and says we're going to provide houses through Magpie Nest Housing, and we're going to furnish them with the best furniture we can find. And we're going to treat people like they're kings, not paupers. And when you see people walk off the streets and walk out of terrible rooming houses into that sort of environment, man, it changes their life, you know. And you see them, you know, we've actually had people sort of start crying because they're actually saying, oh, gee, I don't think I'm worthy of this. But what that does is it demonstrates the heart of Collingwood for the most vulnerable, and that's something we really, really appreciate.
Hey mate, I'll give you a hand. How you going?
Don't try and pretend to do something now. Deb only pretending, all right?
Good to see you, Wayne.
I want to do something back to Collingwood to say thank you for their involvement and their commitment to the work here in the city. And I think what I do is just help out where I can as a way of saying thank you, but also hopefully I'm able to bring some of the values and some of the passion of this place to the football club, and in turn they do the same with us.
Just going up onto the ground now just to have a bit of a kick, so it's a bit of a warm-up before the game starts, and I'm just going to teach some of the players how to kick, so no, not at all. I've got no idea how to kick myself, but yeah, just get the balls back to the players so they can have a kick. Yeah. All the best, mate. That's fantastic. Yeah, have a great night. Big Trav. Good, mate. How are you? There's a little bit of tension in the air because it's a big game, and the crowd's starting to come in now, so you can just feel it building and players are starting to arrive. I think it's going to be a great night. I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward just to catching up with some of the players and some of the other staff as well. Yeah. I'm stuffed. That's my exercise for the week.
One of the things I really enjoy about being around the football club is being with a group of people that are very clear on why they're there. So everyone from the shop right through to the support staff, to the players, to the coaching staff, to the marketing team. Everyone is involved in achieving one goal, which is to win a premiership, and everybody's about the business of taking the steps that are needed to achieve that goal. And generally it's a really positive environment to be in, and I think that's fantastic. And I think I've learned a whole lot of things around leadership, a whole lot of things around setting goals and achieving goals that I've been able to apply here in the work that we're doing with homeless people across the city.
Collingwood have beaten Geelong, the undefeated team in the comp.
It's interesting when you read Collingwood's values, because one of those values is community, and sometimes when organisations write their values down, they just end up on a wall and people forget about them. But I think the reality is at Collingwood, they're really passionate and focused on community. They see that as a really significant value, and I think the work that we see them do with us, it just helps us do some really important work with homeless people.
We all take our hats off to the Salvation Army. They're the ones out there on the streets doing the hard work, working with people as individuals, not just putting a roof over their head, but helping them rebuild their lives, rebuild their self-esteem. And that's where the Collingwood Football Club plays a vital role.
The players come with a terrific attitude to their engagement with the community. They don't see it as just another task that's got to be done, something that's just got to be ticked off, but instead they actually recognise that they can use their influence to bring about some real good in the community and make a really significant difference in broken people's lives, which I think is great.